Welcome to Beneath the Surface podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Bortz, the Millennial Rabbi. Join me as we talk to high-impact people around the world, discovering deep, meaningful ways to live life beneath the surface. Do you often find yourself mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or Facebook? Do you feel a balance in the time that you spend online and with others with the time that you spend on self-care and growth? I discuss this and more with Alexa Eden, an urban wellness coach and conscious entrepreneur based in New York City, who's currently working on several projects to design a world where modern moguls can strike a balance between accelerated technology and slow living. Hi, Alexa. How are you?
Hey, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to kind of getting into conversation with you about, we've been in touch before, but I'm looking forward to kind of unpacking a little bit more.
Definitely. I'm excited as well. I actually wanted to start by asking you if most of your nights are spent meditating with hundreds of strangers under a massive blue whale.
I can't say that most of my nights are spent that way, but luckily last evening was a night that I did get to do that, and I got to share it with my dad and my brother, and they don't meditate quite as often as I do. So it was a beautiful experience to get to share that with them.
And what was it exactly? Like, can you explain what the experience was, what it was?
So there's a big initiative that was launched here in New York, and it's gone to a couple different states. I believe it's gone out west too, and it's called the Big Quiet. And basically their concept is gather hundreds of people together, meditate in the unique spaces, and raise collective consciousness. And they've done events in Madison Square Garden. They've done events now at the Natural History Museum. They have done events at music festivals. So they're really unique in where they want to bring meditation to, and they want to bring it to the masses.
Wow. And do you find a difference when you're with other people meditating as opposed to meditating on your own?
Absolutely. I think when you're meditating, I was explaining this yesterday to my dad and my brother. Basically, because everything in life is a molecule, molecules respond to frequencies and vibration of movement. And when you're together, it's just like molecules of water that they connect with each other and they create a body of water. The molecules that are around us are collective energies. And so when you meditate with other people, you are collectively meditating. So you get to be in the same space with others in that.
That's so interesting because, in Judaism, the idea of a minyan or having like a group prayer, I always gravitated to praying on my own. It was quiet. I could take my time. I'm not rushed. But I guess you're noticing and we're noticing there's a power to a community. Like there's certain divine names you can only say when you're together as a group. There's some sort of special holiness when you're gathered with other people. It's interesting. Yeah.
Actually, that came up in conversation last night. Was if you are praying in a group, is it more powerful? Is it better to be praying in a group than just with one person? So that's okay. That answers my question. I also didn't know that you're only supposed to say certain names in a collective group. That's also really interesting.
And to clarify, yeah, it's more of there's certain prayers, specific prayers, maybe not names. It'll be specific prayers that in a group, but yeah, you can't say it without. And actually, no. When we make a blessing after food, the Birkat Hamazon, the grace after meals, we only bring God's name at the beginning of it if you have at least 3. And if you have 10, you can take it to another level. But after 10, for some reason, 10 to 1,000,000 is still the same laws. So I'm not sure the significance behind 10, but there's a lot of ideas behind numbers. But 10 has been something. But you had like hundreds and hundreds. So that's...
Last night there was 700 people there.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Really amazing. I've never meditated with that many people before.
Just got to get the whole world at one moment. Everyone to imagine the whole world at one moment just decided to take 1 minute out.
I mean, listen, we can all do that when we're playing that game on a phone. I don't know what the game is called. Everybody at 9:00 gets a text message and they have
HQ trivia.
HQ. Yeah. I mean, if people are playing HQ trivia, I'm on a mission to make sure that everybody meditates at the exact same time each day. That sounds pretty awesome.
I like it. HQ Alexa. We got to make it happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've spoken about this before. I'm from California. You're in New York. A little bit different style, a little bit different energy that goes on. Do you find that in New York, maybe an event like this is more maybe more sought after because of the environment being a little more frenetic than other parts of America?
Definitely. I think here we really need things like this. We seek out opportunities and experiences for us to allow us to really get in touch with our more natural states. Of course, it's not natural for humans to wake up every single day, jump on their emails right away, you know, check their messages while they're making coffee, run out the door, be packed next to each other with so many people with no trees in sight, like, and then work all day until 9 o'clock and then do it all again the next day. That's not necessarily our natural state. So because of that, and because of our culture and how we're working, how we're spending our time, it's really important for us to not only seek out these opportunities of deeper connection, but to find other people who believe in the same thing. So that way, we're connected. Otherwise, we're one track minds in our own world doing our own thing. And ultimately we were put on this place to connect with each other. And that's what, it's kind of a basic human need, is connection.
That's huge. Yeah, I've found that and sometimes it takes effort. We expect there to be this amazing environment around us and it's just going to come, but sometimes you have to create your environment. You got to connect to people. You got to go to events where you might meet similar people that are same thinking as you, in a good way, in a way that, you're lifting each other up. It takes effort, but it's worth it. And it seems like you've taken that effort to find places in your habitat where you're, connecting with high vibration people, good, positive thinking. So that's, props on the effort.
I think environment is key. And I mean, ideally we're all sitting on a beautiful mountain in God knows where with our legs crossed and we're thinking blissful thoughts. But I think the challenge comes is like, how can we bring meditation to a place where it is challenging? And how do we make sure that it's integrated into our daily lives as modern humans, versus just like, every once in a while we go on a yoga retreat and it's very awesome. So I think what's cool about the events like the Big Quiet and the event that I launched, Transformation Transportation, is we're integrating meditation into our daily lives. So to recognize that it's not two different things. It's not meditate or live a life. It's how do you use meditation to live your best life?
You're touching on a very very important idea in the idea that, like, the Hasidic movement or the Baal Shem Tov taught that he said in all your ways know him, which means that not just in the synagogue or in meditation, but to try to elevate your entire day, right? Wherever you are, even in work, you can be intentional when you're interacting with people, when you're eating, when you can elevate the moment. You mentioned something I think is really cool, your new initiative, Transformation Transportation. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's all about?
So yeah, speaking of the culture difference, here in New York, everyone is head down, working all the time. They've got their phone in their hand and they're plugged in. And if you go on the subways, either in the morning or rush hour time, or just throughout the day, you realize that you look around and you see people that are disconnected and they're tired. And, bigger than that is that they're losing the ability to connect with people around them, connect with strangers, or maybe it's someone on the train who's homeless, who's asking for a little bit of help or support. Because we have our technology, we're so disconnected. We don't have to really be with people. And so I started this initiative because I wanted to not only bring meditation to a unique place, the subway, but I also wanted to help people recognize that time could really be used to help us become more human, to help us find ways to be more connected to people around us, to have more empathy, to have a different perspective on the world versus us in our world and us in a world with others.
And how have you done that what exactly are you doing on this thing? Can you share, or is it still in the works?
No, I can share it. I know it's like, it's funny when you have a big vision for something and you're building a project, it's like, where you want the project to go. And sometimes it's easy to talk about where it's going instead of where it is right now. So thank you for pulling me back on that one. Next week is going to be the third one. And so what I have done is I gathered a group of people. We met on the platform and the subway platform. We introduced ourselves, and then we boarded the train. And we got on the subway, and then my friend guided a meditation, and we provided sound meditation as well, and some aromatherapy. And it was a really incredible experience, because as we're on the train and we're meditating in our blissful state, in the background you hear next stop, or Union Square, or doors opening. You hear people coming on, leaving. And what I really wanted to simulate here was an experience that helps people recognize that they can meditate anywhere, anytime, as long as it serves them. And the idea is that if you're using this transportation time, on average, New Yorkers spend 40 to 60 minutes commuting a day. If those 40 to 60 minutes were spent meditating or doing something that transformed you in a positive way, the way that we could show up at our workplaces, and the way that we could show up at our families' homes, our dinners, we could be more present and connected, because we wouldn't be rushing. We wouldn't be listening to that music that actually makes us anxious, or reading the news that or scrolling on Instagram. All these things are bringing us further away from our current state of being. And so the idea is transportation is allowing people to experience what meditation is like in a very challenging place, but we're doing it together so we feel supported. And then once you experience this, you're that much more likely to close your eyes the next time you're commuting, to get to a space of bliss when you're, on your way somewhere. So to really use that time wisely instead of kill it. I think a lot of us kill time today. But why kill time? Why not spend it? Why not use it? Why not cultivate it? That's kind of some of the things that I want to bring to light in this conversation that I'm having with this event series.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, there's nothing more valuable than time. You talk to somebody older and they say, I'd trade my millions away to have just more time. So killing time, and it doesn't mean you can't relax, but doing it in a way that's definitely intentional. You were talking about how through meditation, you can feel different towards each other. I've maybe mentioned about whenever I pray in the morning, or regardless if someone's religious or not, by going inside and just taking stock of life, I just feel like loving towards all the people my loved ones, and to people around me. I feel more, much more just appreciative of life when I take that time to be aware that I'm not just going about from thing to task to task to task, for sure. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. Do you have any tips on, let's say someone doesn't know the most about, meditation, and they don't have an hour to spend, or maybe if they have a few minutes in the day, is there anything simple someone can do to just recalibrate or be present?
100%. Yes. I love this question. Breathing, it's something that is so we don't even think about it, but to take a second in your day and to take a deep breath, take 2, take 3. 1, it's easy. 2, it's free. 3, it's not invasive. No one's going to be like, why are you doing that? So taking deep breaths allows you to really connect to yourself in a way that not only allows you to take a second, but you also re-energize yourself. And I think one of the things with meditation is people think that it's about turning things off, quieting things down. It's not really that. It's just becoming more connected to yourself in a way that you can charge it up. So I think breath is a really great way to start. I always catch myself in the day if I'm stressed out about something, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, just take a deep breath. If you're about to get in a conversation with someone or you're in an argument, just take a deep breath. I think breath is a really, really useful tool for us. And it's actually something that when you are meditating, it's a tool that meditation people use all the time. So I would say that would be a really great place to start if you don't have time. And also another thing to keep in mind is like I said, meditation is not about turning anything off. It's not about quieting your thoughts or silencing your mind. It's I think that's where it's gotten a bad rap, because people say, oh, meditation isn't for me because I can't silence my mind. No one can silence their mind. What you're doing is essentially slowing down the pace of your thoughts. So you're slowing it down in a way where you get to choose which thoughts you're interested in paying attention to. And I think today everything is so instant, right? Like, we refresh our pages, we get our instant messages, we get notifications as soon as something happens in the world. Everything is so quick. It's such a quick speed. But what if we are able to actually slow things down in our life so that we get to choose what we pay attention to?
It's like taking control. We were talking about reading before we got on this talk, and I had a rabbi tell me once that when you watch movies, when you watch the screen, it's pulling you into its world and showing you how you should think about it. Whereas reading is taking the idea into your mind and you're developing the characters. You're kind of using your mind so that's the value in taking control of the narrative a little bit in your life, of like taking that time. And you mentioned the idea of breathing and getting in touch with yourself. I thought it was interesting that the word in Hebrew for breath is neshima, and the word for soul is neshama. It's the same word.
I love it.
It says God he breathed the soul into humans. So it makes sense that breathing is almost mimicking God's giving the soul into us. It's like getting in touch with your life force. So that's a really cool.
I was just saying yesterday that my favorite part of Shabbat, well, there's many favorites, but really one of my favorites is waking up on Saturday morning and taking my first breath.
Wow.
It's so powerful that every Saturday I wake up and that first breath is like so good. So good.
Wow. That's powerful. I tried it. I need to do it more, but in the morning when we wake up, we say Moda Ani. It's a 1-line prayer, but I tried even before saying it a few times to just, right when I wake up, just close my eyes. It's already closed, but just be thankful to be alive. Just like that simple concept. I'm alive for another day. I hear what you're saying. It's a really, my mother told me once that one of her most, I guess, spiritual experiences, she was getting ready for Shabbat. It was like a Friday afternoon, and she's a very in touch, I guess, woman with her soul. And she said she all of a sudden felt or visualized the first wind. So like, imagine when the earth began and it was formed, it was that first like breeze that came, that first something, kind of like your first breath, maybe as a child that's born, the first breath that the baby takes. And it just stuck with me. You said Shabbat, you said breath. I thought of that story, but
I love it.
Newness, and like appreciating everything. Every day you start fresh. It's a new life. It says in the Talmud that sleep is 1/60th of death. So it's like and dreams are 1/60th of prophecy. So there's a lot of 1/60ths going on. I'm not quite sure why 60, but so yeah, waking up is definitely a big blessing. You touched on Shabbat and Jewish connection. You just got back from a big trip to Israel. How do you see, maybe from that experience or in general, how your Jewish connection or your connection to Israel or Judaism has maybe played any role or any intersectionality between that and your meditation and your other work that you're doing?
Wow. I mean, what's really cool is I think that meditation is a very spiritual experience. And there's many different forms of meditation. There's sound meditation, there's visualization meditation, there's breath works that you can do. There's so many different forms, and all of it really is in a way to get more in touch with your being, your essence. And over time, you develop spiritually and you understand life with a spiritual lens. For me, what was really exciting was that over the past couple months, I've really been maturing and I've been growing in my spirituality, and to be able to feel fully connected to that and then spend time in Israel, where it's just one of the most spiritual, holy, connected places in the world. I got to really fuse together my let's say secular spiritual development and my traditional, my cultural, my rooted tradition. So that to me was really special. And to be really in tune with what was going on in that environment. I think it's easy to miss, it's a beautiful place. It's easy to miss how special that place is. Um, like anywhere, our minds were conditioned to just move from one thing to the next, and to look at the agenda, and to check our calendars, and to, see the sights, especially when you're traveling. Um,
Mm.
and it was really nice for me to have a couple days there and just connect with that place, with the city. And also the way that I could be with people was so different, because I wasn't, I wasn't caught up in my own head. I was able to really be with people. And I think that's something that meditation has helped me with a lot, in terms of, how it's allowed me to connect with my Judaism, and how it's allowed me to develop and get some clarity in that way. There's so many overlaps, just in some of the things that I'm saying. And this, my morning breath or my morning meditation is just like your morning prayer. So that to me is really exciting, because I'm recognizing, like, hey, wait a second, like, my meditation journey and my Jewish journey doesn't have to be different. Like,
Mm.
it could actually be very much one and the same. And so, I've heard this story so many times where it's, these people have gone on experiences around the world, and they go to India, and they're in Thailand, and they're going on all these really awesome spiritual experiences. And to know that, like, my spiritual experience can actually completely intertwine with my Judaism is extremely exciting. And, I'm really looking forward to kind of exploring it more. Thank
Beautiful.
you for asking that question.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think it's really cool, by the way, for everyone who likes to travel. We all know the hit and run tourism, like I've done that before, where I hit up every city, Amsterdam for 12 hours, Paris for 6. And there is something special about taking time in a place and with people to just connect to people in one space. And, when you talk about Jerusalem, like I genuinely believe there are certain places. Everything is according to Kabbalah, everything is time, space, and person. Meaning, the place could be kind of not such a good energy place. The time could be not good, but you could be at an elevated state, or you could be feeling down, but it's a very elevated time. Maybe it's like the height of Yom Kippur services, and everyone's feeling inspired. Or the place, you could be not feeling it, but you go to Jerusalem. I was with my dad when I was 13, and we went to the Western Wall, and he started crying. I'd never seen him before. And it was the middle of the day. There was no prep to it. There was no like inspiring speech beforehand. It was just something about a location can make you see things differently or awaken things in you. And it's interesting, in the Talmud it says that 9/10 of the world's beauty was given to Jerusalem. And I'm like, when I learned that, I'm like, I've been to Italy, I've been to Switzerland. They're pretty up there. I don't know if Israel really falls under, but I think what it means is a kind of a spiritual beauty, meaning there's a different feeling when you go to Jerusalem that you won't feel necessarily in any other place. And I find it difficult sometimes when I'm in certain parts of the world, even here, as beautiful as it is physically in California, I don't feel the same energy as I do when I'm in Israel. And it could be, some might say it's in the head, but I think it's the air is different. It's just a different place. And did you guys by any chance go to the north? Did you go to Tzfat, one of my favorite cities, or no, you stayed in Jerusalem?
The funny thing is that I was actually so dead set on going to Spot. I was like, my program's going to end on the 8th, and I want to go to Spot. So as soon as it's over, I'll head to Spot. I'll get an Airbnb. But I realized that that was just my normal conditioning of saying, like, well, one thing's over, what's next?
Right.
And it hit me that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to rush somewhere else. I wanted to stay put in Jerusalem. I wanted to process my experience. I think, with the speed and the way that we live our life, we go from one thing to the next, but we don't give ourselves the time to process our experience. We don't give our time to really think like, how do I feel about that? How do I like that? What did I like about this? Who did I connect with? What's my takeaway? And we throw ourselves from one thing to the next, and we're just constantly inundating ourselves with information and experiences and conversations and content that we don't give ourselves really that time to connect. So I said, you know what? No Spot. I'm going to stay in Jerusalem. I'm going to find a coffee place, and then I'm going to sit and I'm going to write, and I'm going to really going to allow myself to kind of like be in this experience that I had.
Mm.
And that's what I did. And it was beautiful. So I didn't get the spot this time, but I'm committed to going back to Israel in the very near future because before this trip, it was 5 years, and that's too long.
Too long, too long. I very much resonate with a lot of what you're saying because I am so intellectually curious. I'm all about attaining new information and discovering and jumping. And I think it is very important to take to heart what you're saying. I think it's a really valuable lesson. Like I'm personally, like I think it's good to have that. It's good to have that curiosity and that desire to like really connect everybody on social media and to do all that. But as you like to say, you got to strike that balance and you have to find a way to succeed at both. I mean, it seems to me that the truth of everything is, as Maimonides says, like the middle path, and not the middle path in a way that's like you're missing out on both sides, but almost like a synergy or a harmony between two opposites, the spiritual world and the physical world. In this case, it might be the phone and social media and reaching people and inspiring people and connecting with people, and making sure you yourself are growing the way you want to be and you're centered, because you can't really help people if you're scattered and stressed by everything. It's a tough one. It's really, really difficult for our generation, especially. It's new ground. It's new waters that we've never had before to this extent. So I think it's important work you're doing.
Thank you. I mean, I love that you bring up, strike a balance. It's my mission. It's my rock. It's my North Star. And I really want to, when I think about what strike a balance means, it is finding that middle ground. It's finding that middle ground, whether it's, using technology to connect with people, or it's taking time for yourself and also being able to connect with people and share with people. A balance between being spiritual and being physical. Like, how can you find that? I think what's cool is like, I have my definition of what strike a balance is. And that's to strike a balance between accelerated technology and slow living. Like, I believe that happy place is right in between technology and slow living. Like, we need technology today. It's very important for the way that we live our life and the way that we, grow and connect and build. At the same time, I think that slow living is really important as well. And that's, reading books, taking walks, writing things down, allowing our minds to really just disconnect from the constant buzzing that technology is providing for us and find that peace. But like I said, you can't just live on a mountain and do nothing. I mean, you could, but I don't personally want to do that. I want people around me. So, it's, and you don't want to just constantly be on your phone because you need humans. So it's how do you find that balance in between? But again, strike a balance could mean anything to anyone. Go out and have a drink and party, but, don't do it excessively. And, yeah, I think that balance is a really nice one to find. I spoke with someone when I was in Israel, and the conversation was, how can you experience the spiritual and harness it in the physical? And I think that's something that I'm really, working on in emulating in my life, is experiencing spiritual life and harnessing it in reality, in the tangible. And that's a really fun thing to play with. And we could probably have an hour-long conversation on that too.
Yeah.
And then the one last thing I wanted to say was, when we talk about processing, when we talk about the information that's, that we're inputting information, we're processing the information, and somehow we're creating something with it. So one of the frameworks that I work off of is constantly based off of inputting information, processing that information, and creating something from it. So whether it's a conversation that you're having, or it's a movie that you're watching, or it's a book you're reading, that's information being inputted. To process allows you to apply meaning to that. How does that resonate with me as who I am? And then to create something from that. When you're creating something, it's the most beautiful thing you can do in the world is create. And that's why on Shabbat we rest and we don't create anything, because we really want to rest. We want to take that break. And so as people, we're here to create, and whether that be in conversation or in art or in words, in language, in relationships. That's all creation. And so inputting information, processing that information on how it resonates with you, and creating. I think that's like it's a trifecta of life. That's probably my trifecta of life. Actually, now that I'm saying it, it is my trifecta of life. Thank you.
You got to make a class, the trifecta in Tribeca, make like some sort of thing going on and start teaching that. I'm literally in that third phase because I did 6 years in yeshiva in Jerusalem. There was no Instagram. There was no nothing. I just learned, I took in, I processed, I wrote, I created. Then I came here. I'm like, I'm on a mission. I started reaching out to the teenagers and all the communal work and just out, spending very little time learning and taking in myself. And it's almost like 6 years. And now I'm trying to blend. I'm trying to take time to be creative and to, it's striking a balance. Yeah. It's that, I think life is really those phases back and forth. Everything's phases, you know, you have inspiration and then you have kind of bring it down to earth, and you have to like find that way to blend the two. And I think what you touched on just finally about what you basically hit to the core of all of Judaism, which is the idea of, you know, I don't know enough to say on Eastern religions and other ways of thought, but the goal in Judaism is to take that meditation and that spirituality and to find a way to elevate the physical. Like we're all about, we have wine at holy occasions, we have big meals on Shabbat, is a lot of focus on taking physical reality and like intentionally elevating it and making this world a dwelling place for God. Not heaven, but this earth should become a heaven on earth, bringing heaven down to earth. So I just want to thank you and for all this insight. And I think you're really touching on something that's going to be the next wave for millennials and beyond, for our generation, to find that way to blend the two. And I want to bless you with lots of success in your work. And I look forward to more collaborations and seeing more good things.
Daniel, thank you so much. It was my pleasure and really an honor to be able to have this conversation with you, mainly because like, I think it opened up a lot for us. You know, I think us having this conversation, it's clear that there's many intersections in what we're both doing. And I think it's a very exciting thing. So hopefully this is the first of many long conversations we have. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you should have a Shabbat Shalom coming up.
Yeah, you too.